Hey gang, Lonny with Gateway Mustang, Gateway Performance Suspension. Today we're back on our truck frame and we are going to show you how we're going to straighten the front frame horn out. That's got a lot of crash damage. And then we're also going to have to add the front portion of it. We mentioned before that they had been chopped off because a guy used this particular body and the front bumper and the front parts of the frame horns to do a complete Crown Vic chassis swap. So we're going to rebuild those. We've already got one side is pretty well done. We just need to do a little shaping on it, but we're going to show you the badly crashed frame rail, show you how we're going to fix that. So you can see it was obviously hit from this side, push this side down, actually tweak this over. You can see how this is popped up. This side is pooched down, so we're going to use a little heat. I'm going to get Zach to give me a hand today. We're going to use a little heat, get these areas heated up, red hot, and then use the porta potty to kind of push it back and hopefully get these straightened out a little bit. And then we'll get on this and try to get it back up in shape. And then eventually we'll build this front section back. It'll take a little bit of time here. We just want to concentrate the heat right kind of where that major pucker is. And once it gets it pretty warm, then we'll move to the bottom, get it heated up, and then we have to just kind of keep going back and forth between the top and bottom to keep it nice and hot, and then we'll start pushing it. Pretty good. We got it. It's right about here. It's starting to curve out a little bit, so we may have to relief cut top and bottom and get that section to pull in just a little bit, but we're pretty darn close there. Pretty happy with that. So you can see we moved that relatively easily. Heat does a lot of, it makes your life a whole lot easier if you can get that heat in there and get it moved around. So we will let this thing cool down and start making our patch piece. You can see over here where we've already extended the frame and we fixed the rust out spot like we have over there. You can see we actually had to move this frame. It got pushed over this way just a little bit, so we just had to make a couple of pie cuts in it to get it to straighten back over that way. Yesterday we kind of got these big stretched out areas straightened out, got the frame pulled back a little bit. I actually had stretched through this area, so you can see I made some relief cuts. pulled that back in, re-welded it. Got a couple more relief cuts here. Basically, you can see I put this square tubing in here and clamped it all in place so that I know that the frame rail is straight there. So basically, to know what we need here on the end of the frame, we made ourselves a template off an existing well-known or good chassis. You can see this is the factory tie-down hole, which is right here. Basically, we're lining that up to get our pieces. Right here you can see where I held it up. Silver line indicates the end of the frame there, so that's how I knew how to make this piece. And also, because we have to make it out of two pieces, we have the flat piece and then we have the top, front, and bottom. That's a 3/16 piece, so basically I took 3/16 of an inch all the way off the outside of that part to allow for my top, bottom, and side. Made a template of that. That became that piece right there. I don't know if you can see this right here, but we did, if you notice, the frame is bulged here and here to make room for the rubber puck that mounts the core support. So you can see right here. You can see right here in the plate, we put a little bend in it to kind of follow that contour. You can see it's marked right here. And now we've got this all clamped in place. We've got this piece tacked on. And then this is the piece that we're going to use to make our top, front, and bottom. You can see that I've already put it in the bender a little bit, put a little shape in it to start with. So what we'll end up doing is putting this up here, getting it tacked in a couple of places, then we'll get out the torch and actually heat this thing red hot and start bending it around and shaping it. If you look at the other side, you can see how we did that and how it turned out. After we got all our shape in there, again, it was just a straight piece like this. And then we went in, we made another template. We made this template that actually gave us our shape for the front and the bottom. So we basically just traced that out, went back after this was all in place, cut it out, shaped it up. There's another little section that we made for up here. And then after we did that, we went back and replaced this section. You know, you could do all that in one section, but to get this in exactly the correct place, I just found it was easier just to go ahead and replace this section after we did this major construction here. So we're gonna do the same thing over here, which is why I have not re-welded this section right here. We'll get all this formed, and then we'll make a replacement piece for this and put that in. So we're gonna get started on that. Okay, so as you can see, we've got this piece tacked on here. And so now we're going to start heating this and forming it around to make the end of the frame rail. Zach, can you get some heat on that one? Yeah. Basically, you're just going to get this cherry red. Put a little tack weld just to hold this in place. Okay, so you can see we've finished up the bottom, folded it around. And now I've got this piece clamping the two so that the two frame sections are level. So basically we're gonna start tack welding that and then get this whole thing all welded up. All right, so we've got our preliminary welding done on this. We'll have to go back and grind it, but I want to go ahead and get this radiator support section cut out and replaced. And so what I want to do is basically make a mark on the side of the frame over here that is the center of that hole. So when I make my repair panel, I know that I have it front to back in the correct position. And then I'll make a mark front and rear that's basically the center of the hole, so I know I'm side to side good as well. So I just want to take and make myself a good mark over here. Make a good center line there. And again, a good center line in the back here. Now I'm just gonna go right along this radius. And that's pretty well gonna be my cut line. Then I'll remove that section and basically I can kind of use that as a template to build my new one. All right, so as you can see, we've got our section cut out that was kind of mangled up, fabricated a new piece. Just used a hole saw to cut this, put a couple of bends in it because this has a little bit of a shape to it here. So again, we've got our witness marks. We're going to just kind of line those up. Hold this end with a magnet. And then I'm just going to tack it in a couple of places. All right, so at this point you can see everything's welded. We weld them inside and out. Make sure you put some weld up here in the corners, because that way when you grind the outside edge here to make that radius, you're not taking too much material away. So we're just kind of using this as a filler material to be able to round that stuff over to make this radius like the frame rail has from the factory. So it's a good idea to backfill it like that. But basically we got to grind that side down like we have this side, cut the shape into it. But you can see this has got quite a bit of different shape going on. We also still have to drill our two bumper holes, and then there's a square hole that we'll put over here that's not really sure what that square hole was for, but it's definitely in the factory frames, so we'll put those back in. So all right, guys, so we've got all the grinding done on this frame. You see it all blended in pretty nicely. Got all of our repairs done on it. Now I'm going to get ready to, I've got my template up here that I've taken from a known chassis. I'm going to trace that out and create the shape on the front of the frame rail here. So we're just going to trace that out. And I can just go back and cut that. It'll end up looking like this when we're done. And then I know we still have to come back and put a bolt hole here, a bolt hole up here. And then there's a little square cut out over here somewhere that we're gonna go back and cut out. Once we get that done, we'll be done with the frame rail repairs. And then we can get to getting all this stuff out and start on our Crown Vic installation. We are down to, we've got all the rear section stripped off. We've got these cuts that somebody actually made in the frame when they were taking the body off. If you remember, they cut that section of the bed out. So we're just going to repair those areas, get those ground down, slicked up, kind of show you what we're going to do there, and then we'll be ready to start actually doing the mock-up for our rear suspension system. So I'm going to get my Miller welder fired up, safety gear on, and get these pieces welded up. All right, so there you have it. Got all of our cuts on the chassis all fixed up, so we're ready to start mocking up our suspension components for the rear end of this thing. See you soon.